Hey, it's Les from the TV Dudes. This week, I was lucky enough to chat with actress, writer, and comedian Rebekka Johnson. You, of course, know her from the Netflix hit series Glow, where she plays Dawn, one half of the hilarious Beatdown Biddies, now known as the Toxic Twins. She's also known for her filmmaking, having just wrapped up production on a short film titled Consent, a short comedy about a serious subject that took first place at the Just for Laughs Comedy Festival in Montreal. We talk about that, plus her comedy trio, the Apple Sisters, her improv background, and much more. It's a really great interview, and I hope you enjoy. Hi, Rebekka. Thanks so much for taking out the time today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
I actually just recently rewatched the last few episodes of season 2 of Glow to catch back up and prep for season 3, and I was amazed in reading interviews with you that nobody got really hurt learning the harder wrestling moves that are kind of integral to the plot towards the end of the season. Even watching wrestling as a kid, I had that kind of bash moment of like, there's no way that landed properly. There's no way that was planned. And and then seeing in the news a couple of days later, like, oh, you out of costume with a neck brace. Okay, these are real.
Right.
What's been the craziest or hardest part of kind of escalating the show or getting more into the wrestling moves?
It's interesting. As we keep going with the show, even though the moves get harder, it doesn't feel harder. Because the hardest part for me was learning how to wrestle in the first place. I started where my son wasn't even 2 yet. I hadn't really been working out. I auditioned for the show, got the show 2 weeks later, was suddenly wrestling for 30 days. And I got tendonitis in my knees. I had a calf strain. My back, like every muscle in my body felt like it was going to pull. Like I was going to like emergency chiropractic visits and like getting sports massage therapy, all these things that I never had to do before because I was hurting muscles I didn't even know I had. And so getting through that first year was the hardest. And then because I knew what I was in for, I started doing Pilates and trying to like maintain some level of muscle tone between seasons so that season 2, I still had a little bit of knee pain, but it wasn't terrible. And then by 3, I didn't even have to tape my knees anymore. And I just felt like I got through it like fairly pain-free. And so even though the moves are harder, you're learning how to do them in the safest way possible. And our trainers and wrestling coordinator and stunt coordinators, their whole job is to keep us safe. And so you end up, just because the moves are bigger doesn't mean that you get more hurt. Obviously, throwing yourself on the ground is never like fun, or it is fun actually. It's never completely pain-free, but it hurts for like a second, and then you move on.
Yeah, but it makes sense that you're getting better at it as if you're escalating in training. You didn't jump into the deep end of this pool, on day one.
Totally.
Can you talk a little bit about getting to develop the Biddies and then the Toxic Twins and have fun with it yourself as an improv comic, but also knowing that it's based loosely on some real people? Where was the most fun or most challenging parts of that for you?
For the Beatdown Biddies, even though you can see some similarities with the Housewives in the original Glow, still they're such different characters. They're different ages, and the Housewives brought like a million props in, and they were so hilarious and had their own like unique dynamic with each other. And what's fun is Kimmy and I, because we've been comedy partners for over a decade, and we are so used to working with each other and finishing each other's sentences and creating bits together. Once they gave us just the names, the Beatdown Biddies, her and I just started like going back and forth with voices and just figuring out what their characteristics were and finding like that pocket for the comedy. And so they let us write a lot of our own jokes for the Biddies. So a lot of times they'll be like, oh, then the Biddies come down the stairs, and they know that we're going to talk that whole time, and we get mic'd. But they're not necessarily writing each joke for us because they know we're going to write them ourselves anyway. And so Kimmy and I do a lot of improvising, like in our trailer, and then we write our best jokes, and then we go out there and do the best jokes for as many takes as we have. You know, we kind of rank them so that we know, okay, if we only get 2 takes, we got our best 2 in, and then, you know, we have down the line, and then occasionally you keep improvising a little extra tag here or there. I feel like the biddies are, you know, they haven't had sex in a while, they're bitter about it, and they take it out on their opponent. And they're just these old, crotchety, raunchy ladies, and it's so fun to play them. And then the Toxic Twins, the most difficult part for that, for those characters was, like, finding the voice. Because in my mind, I was, like, this, like, dude, this, like Keanu Reeves or something, like these surf dudes. But obviously I still look like me in a costume. So just figuring out what is actually funny about them and how do I, like, generate the same amount of comedic material in these, like, sort of weird characters. And so it was more of a challenge, but we also have a lot of fun playing them, and we have to do bigger and better wrestling moves in those characters.
And that kind of work, I mean, the real work of figuring out what can I do? What do I think's funny? What's actually funniest about this character? And drilling down to your best jokes can be a really far cry from making your friends crack up in junior high or high school or first getting into theater. Can you talk a bit about the transition, kind of what got you on this path of really doing this, from being a theater kid in high school to really taking classes with UCB and then forming the Apple Sisters? What kept pushing you through that scary moment of hey guys, I know y'all think I'm funny, but we're really doing this. I'm doing this.
I feel like I saw improv for the first time when I was 12. I was at a music festival in Pennsylvania, totally randomly with my family, and people were doing improv on the street, and I remember just thinking it was complete magic. I didn't know what they were doing, and I had no idea how they took one suggestion were able to create a whole, like, magical scene. And it always stuck in the back of my mind that was something I wanted to do, but I didn't know how to do it. Like, I didn't know how to get there. And I took some acting classes when I was in high school, but I wasn't, like, pursuing it professionally until after college. I got my BFA in acting, and we did the first year we actually did improv games. So all the games that would be on, like, Whose Line Is It Anyway? Like, we would do those kinds of games, and I just had so much fun doing it, and I excelled at it, and I got in an improv group that was on my college campus, and I still perform with those guys, like, to this day. And when UCB opened in New York, we, like, heard about it, and so my college group, we were in New Jersey at Montclair State. It was only 45 minutes into the city, so I started going in, taking classes at UCB, and, I just made it my goal to get on a team there. Like, I didn't really understand how I was going to become a successful actor, but I knew that I could get on a team. I was like, I'm going to get on a team, and I went to every practice. I went to UCB, like, every night. I performed with my college group still in Montclair. Like, I just made it my mission to be, like, the best improviser I could be, and I got on a team, like, right after school. And from there, I just, like, was in this community of people that have gone on to be wildly successful in all the different elements of entertainment. I mean, people that I improvise with are writing on, like, the best dramas and comedies, and they're stars. And so I got to, like, be in this incubator with them. And so it made me feel like it was possible. And I just kept going. And eventually with the Apple Sisters, Kimmy Gatewood, who's on Glow with me, and then Sarah Lowe, she does a lot of musical theater, and the three of us were like, let's make a show, and what do we love? We love music, and we love comedy and satire, and sort of figured out that 3-part harmony was, would be the perfect thing for us, because there were 3 of us, and we created the Apple Sisters as a show that we would just do monthly, and we did a brand new show every month. We spent 28 days out of the month writing and rehearsing for a new show, and just like we just busted our butts, put everything in, and eventually it got us to Montreal just for laughs, and then from there we got agents and managers, and they were like, you guys should move to LA. And then 10 years later, I got on Glow. No, it was like 7 years later, but still, it's been a long road. But I've been
overnight success.
Overnight. I mean, if one night is 20 years, then I'm an overnight success. But I just kept following my passion, and I really love comedy. I love making people laugh. I love writing and acting and help like collaborating, and so just continued. But someone, the casting director of Glow, Jen Houston, had seen the Apple Sisters perform in New York years before the Glow auditions came up, and when they were looking for comedy partners to audition, she brought Kimmy and I in, and we got to do some scripted but mostly improvised bits in the audition, and ended up getting it. And I still can't believe it.
I think I read in an interview that you had done a ballet leap during your audition that you felt, pun intended, landed the role. Is there a particularly favorite Biddy or Toxic Twin moment that you've done that you thought, this is why I'm here, is to bring this moment right here? This is my best joke so far.
I mean, the first one, I'd say the first time when I watched the Biddies on screen in episode 3 of season 1, and it was when the show came out, and I saw the joke that I had written like on screen, and it was, when I fight you, I fight so hard, I'm like a good five of cereal. I'll make you shit your pants. And I truly paused the TV and started to cry. And I was like, I can't believe that someone's putting my style of humor, they're paying me to do my joke on TV. I was like, I'm getting to be Carol Burnett or Tracy Ullman. Like, I'm getting to be my dream women on TV, on a legitimate TV show. Like, I couldn't believe it. I truly cried. My husband looked at me like I was insane for a shit joke. But it was so incredible. And so, yeah, I mean, there's so many, like, when I'm playing Beatdown Biddies, it's the most exhilarating thing. And it feels like we're on stage. And, like, I love performing with the Apple Sisters on stage and performing improv and sketch on stage. And then to get to do that, and then it lasts forever. It's not just for 100 people in a room. It's amazing.
I'd gotten to see the trailer on Vimeo for Consent, which, congratulations, I think just got into 2019 Holly Shorts that I'd seen. Can you talk a bit about making that with Kimmy and putting together your own project? Sure.
Yeah, so I've been writing, a bunch for some years, but I just felt like I really wanted to make a short film and make something about a subject I really cared about. And so I decided to make a short film about consent, really because I was having a hard time articulating about why it sucks so much when your consent is not respected. And I felt like some people would be like, oh, that's just a bad date, or, or like, it happens all the time, it's so common, like, or when men would say, like, the Me Too movement's, like, out of control. And because they'd be like, oh, every day a new person's being outed. And I'd be like, well, that's because every day we experience different levels of, this horrendous behavior. And I had tweeted in response to, like, one specific incident that was in the public. I had tweeted, like, you say, why didn't she leave? And I say, why didn't he stop? So I just tweeted that, and I had a bunch of people, like, arguing me about that. So I was like, all right, I got to make something so these guys that are arguing me, like, just understand the nuances and the subtleties and, like, why it's so difficult to maybe just, like, walk out of a room when you're uncomfortable. And I thought instead of making something, like, extremely realistic, I decided to make it like an allegory. So in my film, in place of sex and, any kind of assault, I put music, and so I play the aggressor, and straight white dude is the victim, and, my friend Tate Ellington played that part, and he just played with the subtleties and the nuance of the emotional journey like so well. And I wrote a bunch of songs that sort of represent ignoring someone's consent, and it's all an allegory, and it's 13 minutes, and also it's funny, but it sort of exposes that emotional journey in a way that's not threatening, in a way that's not like preaching, and also not too exposing. I'm not just saying, this is exactly what's happened to me at different times in my life. It's just taking sort of based on stuff that happened in the public, based on stuff that happened to me, and just based on just knowing that emotional journey, and I made it the allegory. So it was really gratifying to write something so personal, even though it's not like it's not nonfiction, it's not biographical. But it was really gratifying to write that. And then Kimmy and I, because we work together so well, and because Kimmy directs, she had directed a short film the year before that won a bunch of awards, and she's directing a bunch for TV. She's attached to several features. So Kimmy's really like hitting her stride with directing. So it was great to be able to work with her in that way. And I know from working with Kimmy for so long that if we have a small budget, she can make it look like 10 times the budget. Like she can make a video or a movie look really expensive when it really wasn't. And so that's been incredible to go to different festivals and see, like, some people have $100,000 budget for their short film, and we made it for $12,000. And I actually we just won Best Short at Just for Laughs in Montreal last weekend. And it was exciting.
Oh, the trailer looks amazing. And was Control the short that won awards for her?
Yeah, she did a bunch of festivals and won a bunch of awards, and that film was about suicide, but also a comedy, and she made that with Alison Becker. But I feel like it's awesome to be able to tackle these dark subjects, but through the comedic lens, and it makes it more relatable for people to think about it, but without being like traumatized.
Did you find on consent, particularly on this subject, flipping the gender roles of the aggressor in hypotheticals about this can frequently completely change the underpinning of the argument? Did you run into that when you were extrapolating this out into a full short film? Did you feel like sometimes you had to kind of reset the path back to what the allegory you were wanting to make and not get sidetracked by the gender flip of the aggressor?
Yeah, I think that if I had kept it like true to life in terms of a sexual assault, but just flipped the genders, I think that wouldn't have had the same impact, because there's inherently a feeling of where you don't feel safe when you see a woman being victimized by a man, just by nature of usually they're bigger, stronger, can actually hurt them. Not that women couldn't hurt men, and not that it doesn't happen, and not that there aren't female, sexual assaulters. I'm not saying it's only men, but it's just traditionally men. And so in flipping the genders, I couldn't just make it an actual sexual assault. So by making it music, what was great about that is that I can actually map out an exact scenario, and I didn't have to change much because she's not trying to sleep with him. She's just trying to sing to him. And he doesn't want her to, and he doesn't know how to tell her to stop. And even when he does tell her to stop, she's pissed that he doesn't want to hear her sing. And she feels like, he led her on by, like, signing up for her mailing list and coming to her shows. And so I was able to really map it out. And just by changing the actual action, I didn't have to change much. And one thing I was worried about is that I didn't want people to think that I was portraying, like, some crazy girl. But I just had to work on that as an actor to make sure that I was staying grounded and that this felt like a universal character and not like one specific weird stalker.
Well, one of the things that came up for me in conversation with my partner just after watching the trailer was the perception difference, that where the line is for when guys cross from charming to crazy in popular film versus how quickly women turn from she loves him to stalker in films and stuff, and that whether that whether that might have been more difficult to navigate or require more planning and thought. And like you said, you know, managing that as a performer, just the difference in audience perception.
I also think that in the beginning, because I can also send you the film, but I think in the beginning people do probably think she's crazy, and then you really realize, oh no, this is about something bigger. So even playing with that audience reaction is okay, because it's like at first you're like, oh, I know this girl. This is a crazy girl. Oh no, this isn't a crazy girl. This is representative of something bigger, and she's not just crazy. She's like doing what guys do when they are ignoring your body language and ignoring your like nonverbal cues. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
But I had to think about it. I had to think about each moment. But that's what's fun about making a short, because it's 13 minutes. So even though I had to think about every single second, it, you know, still didn't take me that much time because it's 13 minutes. So it was totally worth trying to make it as perfect of an allegory as I could possibly do.
I think it's an absolutely brilliant solve that the conceit that makes the short film super fun, that it's, you know, music instead of sex, that opens up kind of all this charm to it, is also the story change or the structure change that helps you manage it getting to tell the story at all. It's just absolutely brilliant. I love it.
Thank you.
Well, I know we've got Glow coming out on August 9th, and so we'll get to see season 3, I guess, drop here shortly. Do you have a most fun I'm not particularly a fan of spoilers myself, and don't want it ruined. I'll binge it all as quickly as I can, I'm sure. Do you have a favorite moment that you got to do, or was there a line that made you pause the TV and shake your fist to the heavens of I did it, or pull your ear, or
I feel like, well, there's 2 episodes back to back that like absolutely loved, in terms of like the experience of getting to be a part of it and then also watching. But it's not really a spoiler because they did put a picture out showing this, that we all get to switch characters for one episode. And it was so fun, like getting to figure out how to play like one of the other girls' characters. Like that was awesome. And then also in episode 6, we go camping and we got to really be emotional with each other. Like girls around a campfire really talking about their history, in terms of not we, like the actors, we, the characters. Mm-hmm. And so like in the same scene, I'm like crying. And then also they kept in a lot of my ad-libs, which was so fun because I was like ad-libbing a bunch, like back and forth with Melrose, and they like kept a lot of them in, and I was like, yes. But it's fun to sort of be in one scene that's so emotional, but then you also get to have jokes. It's like the full range of what you can do as an actor in one scene. And so, yeah, I just haven't really gotten to do that before. I mean, most of the time when I'm acting, I'm playing some version of a clown. So it was nice to be able to explore the emotional side, but then still hit those jokes.
Well, I can't wait to give it a watch. And thank you so much for taking time to talk to me about it today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Bye-bye.
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast and a member of the Electric Sweater Podcast Network. We are exclusively listener-supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/tvdudes. You can like us on Facebook and Twitter at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is by our friend and original TV dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith. To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com and electricsweater.com. I'm Grant Davis. Thanks for listening.